everybody, Karen Roby here for ZDNet, talking with Danny Palmer today about phishing attacks. We talk about this a lot. Danny, you've written many articles on phishing attacks, why they happen. But one of the things that we don't talk about very often, which we will today, is that, maybe humans aren't all to blame for these. Maybe there are just times that phishing attacks happen and there's truly nothing that we can do about it. So talk a little bit about it, what prompted you to write this article, and why we shouldn't be taking all the blame.
Well, there have been various instances of cyber attacks and phishing attacks over the years, which have been very high profile. And in many of these cases, you look along on social media, security forums, that sort of thing, and see security professionals kind of, some of them at least, kind of belittling users for falling victim to attacks. But at the end of the day, if it was simple to avoid being phished, it wouldn't happen at all. The problem is that some attacks have now become so convincing, it's hard to distinguish it apart from being the real thing. For example, a common type of email that occurs that we've discussed previously is business email compromise attacks, where someone, for example, will pretend to be an employee's boss, say the chief financial officer, saying, "Hey, I need you to make this transfer for me to this account. Do it quickly. This is urgent." So, in the eyes of the victim, the person who's been targeted by the cyber criminals in this campaign, the criminals have managed to almost exactly or exactly spoof the CFO, their email address, sort of the way they talk, the URLs of the company, all the things that go in the phishing email. I mean, it looks legit to the person, say, in the finance department who it's being sent to. And if you're in the finance department and the CFO tells you to do something, you're probably not going to feel as if you're in a position to question that. So you go ahead and do it, and without any sort of indication that you've actually not done something on behalf of one of your bosses. You've transferred money to cyber criminals, and this is a really effective attack, which is just in the last year or so, the FBI said it has made over this type of business email compromise attack has made over $1 billion in just the last year. So it sounds simple at the end of the day, going, oh, why can't people distinguish these attacks from real emails? But the reason they're successful is because they look 100% legitimate in many cases.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of these, and they really are hard to tell. And if you're working and it comes through, people get under the gun with things and may respond to something that they shouldn't, but they truly do look so legitimate in so many cases. And Danny, you talked about the money that can be at stake here, but also people's jobs, and oftentimes they're reprimanded at the least, or even fired sometimes because of something like this that happens.
Yes, there has been the case. There are incidences where people have lost their jobs because of this sort of thing. One of the cities in the United States which got infected with ransomware this year, the IT person who I guess clicked the link lost their job because of it, which is it's an interesting approach. That's definitely sort of the stick rather than the carrot, because at the end of the day, in a lot of jobs, as you say, people are responding to hundreds, maybe even thousands of email messages a day. So it's at some point in there that a malicious one will get through. I think you can provide things like training, which do help people see what is a phishing email, but in some cases, the training is a bit simplified. I mean, I think most people watching this probably have had to do sort of an email security training program at some point, and it's usually a case of there's a list of emails, and you look at examples, and you have to identify whether this email is malicious or not. And in many cases, there will be in those tests there will be quite an obvious giveaway that it is a malicious email. Well, when it comes to highly sophisticated cyber attacks, there's quite often no tell to alert the user that it is suspicious. one thing that it could be pointed out here is that cybersecurity software and even email providers should be doing the work to make sure that these emails are not picked up by and don't get through to users. I mean, you check a spam folder, and often there are lots of malicious emails in there, or fake emails, or very basic spam messages that have been filtered out. So it's the case that maybe rather than pointing all the blame on the users for falling victim to what can be highly sophisticated attacks, which look exactly like the emails they're expecting to receive email from, they're expecting to receive from people. Maybe it's the software that should be stepping up. So in the cases where some people in the security industry have been a bit snobbish about how general users react to this sort of thing, maybe they should be going out and helping build technological solutions which can fill the gap, so that malicious emails which are spoofed aren't getting through into inboxes.
Yeah, and there's, so many things, Danny, that's a great recommendation, things to keep in mind that companies need to, and maybe adding to the list, not victim shaming right off the top, because that might be something that just comes naturally when there's a problem and someone's responded to something they shouldn't have. All of a sudden we think it's their fault, right off the top. So just a couple bullet points, though, of things that we pass on, and we've done this on several occasions, but remind us the things that companies need to do, just keep pressing forward with that training with their employees.
Well, yeah, obviously doing no training is not going to be the best idea. So having some sort of training is going to be having better than none at all. And it's quite often worth remembering that if you do get an email from an unexpected source, or an unexpected attachment, or a message asking you to do something really quickly and urgently, and especially the ones that say, "Hey, don't tell anyone about this," maybe double check, if you can, that the person who sent the email in the first place is legitimately the person they who has sent it. A while back I was speaking to the sort of a senior person in a company who said they'd received a message claiming to be from their CFO, saying, "I need you to transfer a couple of £100,000 for me in this deal. No, it's quick, it's urgent, don't tell anyone." It so happens the board member they'd sent this to, because board members can be targeted by these things as well as members of staff. Just so happens the board member was in the same room as the CFO at the time and could go, "Hey, was this you?" And they go, "Oh, no, it's not." So that was quite an easy get out there. In terms of phishing attacks, which are looking to do things like distribute malware, for example, let's say some sort of espionage campaign looking to steal details, or a campaign sending out banking trojans. In many cases, these attacks are using exploits which are known about and have been previously patched. So if a system has received all the necessary security updates it should have, those old vulnerabilities shouldn't be an issue, because they can't be taken advantage of. Basically, if you're not patching your systems, it's almost an open goal for attackers, because that's quite an easy way in for them to come and exploit systems. No matter what the defense is, if the operating system isn't up to date, it's going to cause issues.
Yeah, most definitely. All right, Danny. Well, we appreciate your article on this. And if you'd like to read more about Danny's phishing article, make sure you check out ZDNet.